Let's take into account the first premise. The universe needs a creator. Well, matter and energy can neither be created nor destroyed, and 100% of what we've observed in the universe has been matter and energy. Even if it was 0.000000001% matter and energy, which is far less than the matter and energy in the universe if you include dark matter, dark energy, invisible matter, invisible energy. If it was just 0.0000001% matter and energy, you would still have to explain how that was created when matter and energy cannot be created. So where'd all the stuff in the universe come from? Well, you have to understand that the space-time that we're in is stretching at the speed of light. And at further reaches from the Earth, it appears as though space-time is stretching up to over 6 times the speed of light. And according to general relativity, Albert Einstein, you may be familiar with, said that if that's ridiculous because if anything was exceeding the speed of light, it would be moving backwards in time. It goes into what Neil deGrasse Tyson says: the universe does not have an obligation to make sense to you. So if the universe is stretching 6 times the speed of light, then that means that section of the universe is moving backwards in time relative to Earth. I think the Big Crunch causes the Big Bang. I think Roger Penrose thinks this too. He's a Nobel Prize-winning scientist. The universe didn't come from nothing. Listen to my atheist ass. The universe did not come from nothing. It came from something. It back-ended. We've observed the black holes around the universe, and the fastest we've seen a black hole spin is 84% times the speed of light, which means that it hasn't exceeded the speed of light inside of the singularity of a black hole, a mass infinitely dense, well, whatever infinite means. There's no such thing as infinite anywhere in the universe. Everything in the universe is finite. But if the entire universe at the end of time was nothing but black holes, and one big black hole that forms like an octillion years after right now, then that universe-sized black hole could still spin at the singularity faster than the speed of light. You see what I'm saying? I think the black hole thing is kind of an illusion because we're already going backwards in time at the furthest reaches of the galaxy, 93 billion light years away. It appears as though the universe is stretching 6.42 times the speed of light, which makes sense because space-time might behave differently than normal matter and energy. If space-time might be dark energy, and that might behave differently than normal matter and energy too. It may not be made of the same particles. And there are particles that can be made to exceed the speed of light, like neutrinos can exceed the speed of light 7%, and photons can exceed the speed of light by hundreds of times if you gain propagate it. So what I'm saying is the Big Crunch causes the Big Bang, and this is the Big Bounce theory. This is current level science cosmology. This is what all the current scientists believe, all the astrophysicists. Sure, they have to prove it, but when has a religious explanation ever superseded a scientific explanation? You know what I mean? Like, you come up with the theory of work. What is work? Work is force times acceleration, and acceleration is a big to-do of an equation, and force is a big to-do of an equation. So you're looking at all these equations around the universe. E equals mc squared is another equation. Mass times the speed of light squared is energy. And matter and energy never go away. They just become one another. Matter can become energy. Energy can become matter. But because the universe might actually be made of gravity or something like that, what are the particles that make up gravity other than the mighty graviton, which would be spinning faster than the speed of light? Which means most of the universe, to our perception, is moving backwards in time anyway, which slows down and then starts going forwards in time again. That's why I'm an atheist. It has nothing to do with wanting to sin. It has to do with the fact that I can't fathom how a sentient creator, Santa Claus, or wizard in space causes the universe to be created, just poofs it out into existence. Well, who created God? It's a question you can't answer because God created himself, right? I think it's just a big superstitious thing. I think it's like my dad would always say, it's a big fish story. You know, over 2,000 years, this guy walking on an ice sheet becomes walking on water. This guy with a sleight of hand for water and wine becomes a story ripped off from Dionysus about turning water into wine. And it's all these little pieces hemmed together of these other stories of Mithra and Zeus and Thor, all containing things that they plagiarized as well. And the Jesus story plagiarizes things like Zeus. It doesn't plagiarize Thor because Thor came 100 years after Jesus supposedly walked. But anyway, there's Mithra and Zeus and Ra and Zoroaster and all these deities and all like Dionysus and stuff like that are all bits and pieces of the same Jesus story. Horus, born of a virgin, 12 disciples. You've heard the fucking story 1,000 times. If you're alive for thousands of years, you've heard the story thousands of times since the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Sumerian legend. There is no God. There is no creator. The Big Crunch causes the Big Bang.